You know, we've all seen the headlines about how America is more divided than it's ever been since the Civil War, and everything is politicized, and very few people have a remedy for it, but I believe there is a remedy, and part of it includes redefining moderation at every level of our existence. In roughly 500 BC, Siddhartha Gautama had a pretty revolutionary idea. After experiencing all the extremes of comfort and then all the extremes of poverty and want, he basically declared that enlightenment could be found through a middle way, or a noble eightfold path of right mindfulness, right view, right intention, and like 5 others. And then hundreds of years later, thousands of miles away, a little Greek fella named Aristotle had a pretty similar idea and built upon an idea that virtuous or right or moral behavior could be found through a golden mean or a golden middle between excess and deficiency. So courage lies between rashness and cowardice. Modesty lies between pride and humility. The perfect juice lies between you might as well eat an orange and flavored sugar water. And upon this, civilizations were built, right? Scientifically, we know that everything in the cosmos is held together by an inward pull of a gravitational force of a large object and competing gravitational pulls of other objects. The brain has evolved to thrive in a state of moderating inputs from emotions and thoughts and feelings. The atom itself, the fundamental element of life, has positive, negative, neutral charges, all working in a way of a balanced, unconscious state of tension. To me, that's moderation. As a country, we ratified a constitution that, though not perfect, was a gigantic historical step in codifying moderation as a form of governance through checks and balances, separation of powers, that sort of thing. And so with all this evidence, with our physical and moral and governing structures acting in a state of moderation and moderated tension, where did we go off track, really? I believe there are 4 contributing factors. 1, you have the politicization of the courts, which that's like people campaigning on the idea that the courts should be less moderate. You have the growth of 24-hour news, and then you have the growth of social media, which encourage siloed thinking. And then you have moderates themselves. Moderates have often been confused to mean either centrist or nice folks that are trying to find the middle. But the problem with that is the middle can shift based off of shifting the extremes in something called the Overton Window. Also, we did a terrible job of standing up for the oppressed in the 20th century, trying to find no tension versus an optimized tension, or what Martin Luther King would call a constructive nonviolent tension. So with all that, I think it's incumbent upon us to redefine moderation, not as some centrist nice guy trying to find the middle between an extreme position and a very unreasonable position. I think it makes more sense to define moderates by someone that is willing to accept a multiplicity of inputs from people and contexts that disagree with their position, as well as support their position. People that believe in a moderate level of bureaucracy and a moderate level of entrepreneurship, and also people that put a premium on equality and equity, because you cannot have a level playing ground without that. But anyone can become a moderate, which is the good news, through 4 parts. 1 is honesty. Honesty with oneself, honesty with others, honesty to context, place, and time. This is the foundation upon which understanding is built. The second component or practice that one needs to employ is compassion. Having compassion for the honesty that someone gives you, an openness, a non-judgment to that honesty is going to lead to understanding someone's motivations and behaviors, and also open up your own curiosity. Introducing boundaries introduces the tension that I've talked about so much. Boundaries is defining simply what is okay and what is not okay. This has to be fact-based, data-based, and non-utopian. And then we have to introduce a resilience. Resilience is the trust that we are nature, right? And we are made stronger through moderating forces. And we are going to be stronger, just like muscles, brains, and societies, by acknowledging that. I'm not advocating for an expulsion of the extremes. I'm advocating for an elevation of this new moderation in all things, one that sets the tone of the arguments rather than responds to them. Not because I want to, but because we have to. Thank you.